I want to talk about the break between a surface that's good enough for a takeoff and you probably wouldn't want to use for data somewhere. So I'm going to take you through a surface that our engineer Jessica Duggar did for a client, and what I want to do is show you where we pay attention, where we don't care, and kind of move from that point forward um, with numbers that are generated for a takeoff, and then what happens when it turns into data, and also a little bit of a drill down into what can be done with a takeoff. I'm in Business Center, and if you'll see, there's a bunch of flags everywhere. So everybody would instantly freak out about how horrible this surface is. And if I was going to throw this in a machine, do automatics, I would wholeheartedly agree with you. But let's look at what we have as far as flags. Now, what you're seeing is probably some vertical breaks that it doesn't like, and there's differences. They could even be a foot or two, and frankly, I don't care. Now, if you look down here at the bottom left, I've got this thing exaggerated at 3 times, so it's a lot uh, more detail than you would probably see. But again, when I review this surface, at least from our aspect, in a takeoff, I want to exaggerate things a little bit just to see how it looks because I'm chasing spikes. So I don't see anything that's egregious or horrible, but let's take a look at the surface in plan view and look at the triangles. And if we were building this thing um, for production, you'll see again, every triangle is a flat area. This isn't going to work for grading. We're going to want to draw some break lines and kind of pull some information down um, into these catch basins. But for takeoff, I just don't care. It doesn't really matter. And when I get these pieces of the puzzle put together, then the overall picture starts to take shape with numbers that are going to be generated initially for mass earth moving quantities, how much of certain types of materials. And you can see the breakouts here. All these different colors represent different types of materials. So we've got topsoil, stripping and respreading. We've got all sorts of different um, uh, concrete areas. There's obviously the slab, and then there's going to be the concrete pull-up areas. Then we've probably got some lighter, heavy-duty concrete paving here. Um, this thing has got a lot going on. It's a pretty large site. It's in the 70s or 80 acres or something like that. So there's a lot to do. Now, oftentimes we will take and do a takeoff that is basically reiterating the information that's on the bid package so our client, the earth moving contractor, can put these numbers together and also either check or plug in numbers that they're going to sub out later. Let's say it's curb and slab and those things that they're not going to do. But the thing is, for a bid, I don't have to wait for somebody to do this because I'm confident in my takeoff and my quantities, so I can put this together. Here's some big picture stuff. Um, you'll see we have these different um, these different materials that are brought in. And again, we're talking about non-native materials that we bring in. Here's some topsoil information here. And this is kind of a quick, it's not really a mass haul, but it's how much cut um, depth or fill depth equals how many yards. So you'll see the numbers get smaller as they go away. 9 to 10 feet of cut is only 400 yards, but this gives me an idea to see what this thing is like. And obviously there's a lot more fill than there is cut as far as areas are concerned. And we start to drill down and look at all these different things that um, in this case, this happens to be linear, and we're looking at erosion information and silt fence. Any kind of count that you can do linearly or 2D or 3D wise can be included, so these things can get broken down and put into a bid proposal, or after I win the bid using my generic input numbers, I can come through and get these details right, and they can start going out in the field. That's the kind of stuff that's going to make these takeoffs initially give me a number, and then we start drilling down, cleaning up, putting things into perspective, and giving me a really solid data model, as well as some more detailed information for production as opposed to bidding.